Hello, Stampers! Oh my goodness, do I have a bundle to show you today. And it is the Winter Owls. And this is one of the projects that I've did with it. And this is going to be today's tutorial. I did want to show you one that I did earlier in the week. And it's this one here, done with the same bundle. And this one is an exclusive tutorial. If you order from me in the month of September 2023, you will get this one and 3 other tutorials free that are exclusive just for my customers. So that is one of them. But we're going to center our attention on this one. And I just want to let you know all the measurements for this card are down below this video, along with all the links to the products that I use today. So we're going to use, like I said, the Winter Owl. And it's just a gorgeous stamp set that has these 3 owls in it. A tree, a moon, perfect sentiments. So this is a must-have in my book for scenes for the winter. And so the Winter Owl also comes with coordinating dies. Here are the dies. And it cuts out this log from this one that I did. And the owls that are in the stamp set, along with some branches. It's got these beautiful winged feathers, and it has this standalone die right here that cuts out a full owl. And if you do it out of white, it just pops against a great sky. So I'm sure, using that in future tutorials. So that's the Winter Owl bundle. You save 10% by buying the bundle, and I've linked that down below. So first off, I'm just going to start with our elements that we need for this card. I think you're going to like the simplicity of it. So we're going to start with our branches. And out of the Winter Owl's dies, I cut the 2 different size branches that it has. I cut one out of white, one out of gray for each one. So there's my long ones, and then it has a short one too. So there is our branches that we're going to need. And I'm just going to use some little multi-purpose glue here. And I want my branches to look snowy, like there's a layer of snow laying on top of them. So I'm just going to take the basic gray branches, and I'm just going to add just a light little bit of glue. And I just want to make sure I have the tips mainly. I am putting glue here and there, but the tips of the little branches, you want some type of glue or adhesive on them. And we're going to layer them on top of the white. And you want to make sure that the tips are connected. And you probably can't see it too well against that white paper I have down there. But this is what you end up getting just by layering those 2 branches, just cutting them out of white and cutting them out of basic gray or brown or whatever color you want your branch to be. I wanted mine to kind of be tone on tone, so I'm using, grays and whites. So that's why I did mine. This is just such an easy thing to do that really adds to your little scene. With the snow flying around, you want some on your branches. So I'm going to do that same thing to the smaller branch. And there is the small one. So I'm going to set those aside for now. That's that element that we're going to be using. And they can be sitting over there drying. And then I'm just going to take just a scrap of paper. This is basic white. I'm going to grab some Memento Tuxedo Black, and that's what I'm going to stamp my owl with. Give it a little tap here. And I'm just going to stamp my owl on this little scrap. You can color your owl any way you want to. I decided I wanted mine to pop some, so I didn't want to leave him just white and gray. So I'm adding some copper clay Stampin' Blend marker. This is the light one. And so I'm just going to color the top of its head where those dots are. I'm going to color the back part of his back here where those dots are. And I'm going to color along the wing where those dots are. So this is the top of the wing. There's some dots down here and along the tail. So I'm leaving a little gap in between these sections. And you're going to see why. Now I'm going to color that his feathers on his foot there too. So again, that was light copper clay. Then I'm bringing in the light Smoky Slate. And I'm going to use the bullet in here. And I'm going to make his face kind of pop out. I'm adding a little line in between its eyes and the end of its nose. And that's going to help bring that beak forward. I'm going to add just a bit of color here, like a little swoop where his neck would be. And that kind of gives your bird a little more dimension. So just that line right there, see how it brings his face out? And then I'm just going to color these dots in on its belly and chest. And then I'm going to add some of this color here. I'm going to go into that copper clay a bit, so it's like a little two-tone there, and add a stripe of that light Smoky Slate. I'm leaving a little bit of white in between the copper clay and the Smoky Slate there. And that just makes that all pop. And then a little bit here on its tail. And guess what? All done. Okay? There is a die that you can cut this out with. My creatures, I like to cut them out. So I'm going to fussy cut mine out, but you can certainly use the die for it. The die is going to leave just a bit of white around the edges, and I just like that closer look. So if I'm making a whole bunch of these cards, I would certainly use the die, but since I'm just making this one here, I'm just going to cut mine out real quick. And he's pretty simple to cut out. I'm using my paper snips, my Stampin' Up paper snips. For this, they're nice and sharp. There is my owl. Let me get this little piece right here that I missed. There we go. So he's all ready for our project. Setting him aside with the branches he'll be on. Okay, so now we want to start with our background here. And this is done on a 3.5 by 4.5 inch piece of basic white cardstock. And then I want to mask for my snow. I'm just going to grab a Post-it note. These are 3 by 5, and I like this size because then I don't have to try to piece things together when it's a little wider than 3 inch like the normal one. I'm just going to add a couple of little hills here. Now this is the sticky edge right here, so I don't want to rip all of it off. The tops of my hills are way up there in that sticky part so that it actually will continue to stick to the paper. And I'm going to just add some ground. That's where my ground's going to be, what I masked there at the bottom. I don't measure these things. It's probably like an inch right here. So it doesn't matter if your snow's a little lower, a little higher. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so I want a little gray in my sky in the back. So I'm going to go to Smoky Slate here. I'm using a blending brush. I'm just going to clean my blending brush a little bit here on my scrap paper. That's how I clean mine. I don't like use soap and water or anything. I just kind of rub them off. And this one I use with black and my grays. So I just want to make sure I didn't have a bunch of black on there. Now for this, I want to I'm making like waves with my blending brush. And when you do that, you're going to get some movement there in your sky. So it's not going to look just flat, you know, just kind of make some swirls there in the background. So now we're ready for some trees, and I'm going to stamp them in Smoky Slate also. So I'm just going to grab this tree from the Wintery Owl stamp set. I love that I can get just a bunch of great scenes just out of the stamps that are in this set. And I'm going to stamp some of these trees now. I want to make sure that the bottom of my tree is somewhere on this mask here so that they'll be connected to the ground and not like levitating out there in the sky. That's very important. So I'm just doing some up and down. Here we go. I have them different heights. And then I'm not done with my tree yet. I don't have to clean it or anything. I'm going darker in the same color family, so I'm going to basic gray. And I just wanted some like twig bushes here at the bottom. So I'm going to add some of these basic gray ones. Just stamping the very top of the tree. Just here and there along the bottom there. I'm going to take that blending brush that we used earlier. I'm going to add some to the tip of the blending brush, and I'm going to just kind of blend it along that Post-it note edge. This is really going to define where that snow begins. Kind of draws your eye into that darkness there. All right, so there is that. I'm removing that Post-it note, and there's your snow. You got your trees, you got your sky. That went by really fast, right? I love these little scenes that are quick. So I'm just going to use that same basic gray, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment really quick while I just have that out. Make sure I'm not stamping it upside down. I'm stamping warm wishes on the bottom, but you could do the sending love. That's also in the stamp set. Just going to lean in here. There we go. There's our warm wishes. You could certainly put that on a label, pop it up. I'm keeping this fairly clean looking. Okay, so we need some snow in our sky. I'm going to move my cards here from behind this. Actually, I'm going to move things right off my paper here. And I'm going to take just a piece of this, and I'm going to put it up here against my board. Just make sure you're covering things behind you for this next step. I'm using this Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. This is a white watercolor, and it's so simple to use for snow and such. So I just have a, this is a number 2 brush, and I'm just going to dip this in here. You can wipe it off a little bit before you do this, just so you, and you can also practice this, but I'm just tapping this on my finger to get some off. I didn't have enough. I wiped too much off. And you're going to get snow on your scene here. There we go. I don't mind if there's some like little lines to my snow. That's fine. Just makes it look really wintry. Get it everywhere you want it. Really shows up against those dark trees. You can also use a white gel pen to make dots all over your sky. That's an option too. And after you do that though, what you're going to do, just make sure that you clean your brush out. You're going to set this aside for a few minutes. It doesn't take too long to dry. And you're going to cover up that white paint that you have on your paper here, because you don't want to set your cardstock down in there and end up with dots all over it. So there is our snow on there. Hope you can see it on there. And it's dimensional. It kind of stands out. It's really great. So there is that. Now I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'm going to clean my brush out and I'll be right back. Okay, I have my brush all cleaned out here. And I'm going to go ahead and start putting my card together. I have a card base here. It's basic white. And it's 5.5 by 8.5. Just going to use my bone folder here and get a nice crease. Then I have my panels that are going to go inside my card. And I don't know what I'm going to stamp on this yet, so I'm putting it in blank. But if you know what you're going to put on right away, by all means stamp it and don't risk putting it in and then stamping crooked. But I'm just going to add this on here. Another little tip I want to give you is that if your cardstock's a little wonky that you notice, have the wonkiness at the bottom. Nobody will notice it that much. You may know it's there, but your people probably won't that you send this to. I'm adding a heart inside for some love. And I'm just adhering these into the inside of my card. I like to have those panels in there to account for the weight that you have on the front of the card. I don't want a flimsy back, so I have those panels in there and they look so nice. This is a substantial card, but it's flat, and so you're not going to have to put any additional postage on it. Yay, right? Okay, so for the front, I'm going to add this basic gray layer. Oh, I forgot to tell you the sizes of these. Inside, this is a Smoky Slate panel that's 4 by 5 1/4, and then the basic white panel is 3 3/4 by 5. On the outside, this is another 4 by 5.25 Smoky Slate. This is going to go on the outside. Now I'm going to take that shorter branch. I have the two. So there's the long branch and there's the shorter one. I'm going to take the shorter one and I'm going to add it to the top of my main panel here, using that multi-purpose glue again. I don't put much on. I kind of get a little bit on my tip and then I smear it around on there. So I don't have big globs. And I'm just going to kind of angle this in the top right corner. Here we go. There's that branch. And then the bottom branch, we're going to angle down. I love these nice big branches. Sometimes in sets you only got like little short branches. This one's a good size. That's going to go clear across to a nice sized panel. Now I'm going to put this down towards the bottom here. So I have room for my owl. I'm going to slide it over. I want those tips on my panel there. So there is that. And I like it already. Boy, we just got such a great scene going here. Now I just need my owl, and we're just going to glue him onto the branch. You could pop him up, certainly, but I didn't find it necessary, and I'm always looking for ways to reduce my postage for winter Christmas cards or such. I'm frugal like that. Anyway, here's my owl. And see how he just pops against all that gray and white, just because we put that copper clay into his feathers. Oh, our branches are poking out here a little bit. So I'm just going to cut those even with the card panel there. And then I'm going to adhere this to a basic white panel that's 1/4 inch larger than this main panel. This is basic white, and it's 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. There we go. How pretty is that? And then we're just going to add it to our card front. Little glue here. I use multi-purpose glue, but just because it gives me some wiggle room, just in case I don't think it's straight. So I'm just going to lay that on there, give it a look. I think it looks nice. And there's our card for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you give it a try. Here's my original. Thanks for joining me. Toodles!